The fog rolled thick over Seattle that April morning, wrapping Capitol Hill in a soft, gray hush. From our apartment's bay window, I could barely make out the streetlights, their glow smudged like watercolor. It was the kind of morning that begged you to slow down, to savor the quiet before the city woke up. I leaned against the counter, sipping black coffee, the bitter warmth grounding me. My name's Ethan Carter, 34, a structural engineer who designs bridges, steady, unshakable spans that carry people safely across chaos. My life felt like one of my designs, carefully planned, reliable, built to last. Emily, my wife of 8 years, was already gone by the time I rolled out of bed at 7:30. Her side of the bed was cool, the pillow still dented from her head. A post it stuck to the fridge read, "Early pitch meeting. Grab milk?" Lovey. Her looping handwriting made me smile. Emily, 32, was a rising star at a tech PR firm downtown, always juggling client calls and last-minute presentations. Her day started before dawn and often bled into late dinners with colleagues, but I didn't mind. That was her rhythm, and I loved her for it. Her drive, her spark, the way she could charm a room without trying. We'd met in college at a rainy University of Washington tailgate, both soaked and laughing under a sagging tarp. She spilled her beer on my sneakers. I teased her about it for weeks. That was us back then, easy, unfiltered, the kind of love that felt like it could weather anything. Now, in our cozy one-bedroom on 12th Avenue, we were still a team, even if our schedules didn't always sync. Weekends were our anchor, lazy brunches at Oddfellows Cafe, binge-watching sci-fi on Netflix, or hiking to Snoqualmie Falls, where we'd stand at the overlook, her hand in mine, mist rising from the cascade below. We talked about kids someday, a house in Fremont maybe, with a yard and a dog. It wasn't perfect, whose life is, but it was ours and it was enough. That morning, I had a rare gap in my schedule. My firm was reviewing a bridge retrofit project, a high-stakes job to reinforce a span over the Duwamish River. The meeting wasn't until 2 p.m., leaving me a pocket of free time I hadn't had in weeks. I thought about hitting the gym, maybe jotting down some ideas for a freelance project I've been toying with. But the fog outside felt like an invitation to do something different, to step out of my routine. Emily had been raving about a new coffee shop near Pike Place Market, Bean and Fog. Their oat milk lattes are unreal. Ethan, she'd said last week, her eyes bright. You'd love it. Cozy, not pretentious. I usually stuck to my corner diner, where the coffee was cheap and the baristas knew my order. But today I want to surprise her, maybe snap a selfie with her favorite latte and text it to her mid-meeting. A small gesture, sure, but those were the threads that kept us close. I pulled on a navy sweater and my worn-in boots, grabbed my keys, and headed out. The air was cool, heavy with the scent of damp pavement and pine. Capitol Hill buzzed quietly, dog walkers, delivery bikes, a bus rumbling down Broadway. I caught the Link light rail to Westlake, then walked the short stretch to Pike Place. The market was just waking up, vendors arranging crates of apples and fresh-cut tulips. Bean and Fog sat tucked between a bakery and a vintage bookstore, its neon sign glowing softly through the mist. Floor-to-ceiling windows revealed a warm interior, exposed brick, wooden tables, hanging ferns swaying gently. A chalkboard sign out front advertised Spring Special, lavender cold brew. Emily would have loved that, I thought, pushing open the door. Inside, the place hummed with low chatter and the hiss of an espresso machine. Baristas in flannel darted behind the counter, calling out orders. A mix of remote workers and early risers filled the tables. Laptops open, headphones on, couples sharing croissants. Indie folk played faintly, just loud enough to soften the edges of the morning. I scanned the menu, debating between Emily's latte and something new. My phone buzzed in my pocket, a work email, probably my boss with last-minute notes for the meeting. I ignored it. This moment was for me, for us, a tiny detour from the grind to feel connected to her. I was about to step up to the counter when I heard it, a laugh, bright and unrestrained, slicing through the cafe's hum. My chest tightened. I knew that laugh as well as my own heartbeat. It was Emily's, the one she let loose when she was truly at ease, like when we'd dance badly in our kitchen or when I'd botch a punchline. But she wasn't supposed to be here. She was at a pitch meeting across town, probably in some glass-walled conference room, charming clients with her quick wit. I turned slowly, my breath catching, and there she was by the window, bathed in soft light, her face alive in a way I hadn't seen in months. The laugh stopped me cold, a sound so familiar it felt like part of my own pulse. Emily's laugh, bright, unfiltered, the kind that used to fill our Capitol Hill apartment during late-night card games or my terrible attempts at karaoke. But now, in the warm glow of being in fog, it wasn't for me. It was for someone else. My heart thudded, heavy and slow, as I stood frozen near the cafe counter, the Seattle morning's fog pressing against the windows like a hell breath. She wasn't supposed to be here. Emily's post-it on the fridge had said, "Early pitch meeting," some downtown high-rise where she'd be charming tech execs with her quick smile and sharper mind. Yet there she was, by the window, her auburn hair catching the light, her face alive in a way I hadn't seen in months. She sat at a small table with 3 others, 2 men and a woman, all in crisp button-downs, company badges clipped to their belts. Coworkers, I assumed, but the scene didn't feel like work. No laptops, no notes, just coffee cups and easy chatter. Emily's hands danced as she told a story, her laugh ringing out again, drawing glances from nearby tables. I ducked behind a chalkboard menu, my breath shallow. The barista called out an order, but the sound blurred into static. My eyes locked on the man next to her, mid-30s, polished, with a jawline that looked like it belonged in a cologne ad. He leaned in, too close, his hand brushing her arm as he said something that made her toss her head back, her smile wide and unguarded. I knew that smile. It was the one she'd given me on our first date, under string lights at a Fremont taco truck, when I'd mispronounced guajillo, and she'd teased me for days. But now it was his. My stomach twisted, a slow, sick churn. I should have walked over. "Hey, Em. Funny running into you," I could have said, forcing a grin, watching her explain. But my feet wouldn't move. Something in her ease, her glow, told me this wasn't just coffee with colleagues. She wore a cream-colored sweater I didn't recognize, soft and delicate, not her usual blazer and jeans work vibe. Her phone sat face up on the table, buzzing with a text that flashed before she flipped it over. I caught a glimpse. "Meet me at 8, don't tell." My initials. My chest tightened like a vice. The guy leaned closer, his voice low, and Emily's eyes flicked to his, sparkling with a warmth I hadn't felt from her in ages. She brushed her hair behind her ear. A nervous habit, but there was no nerves here, just comfort, intimacy. I gripped the edge of the chalkboard, my knuckles whitening. The woman across from her said something, and Emily laughed again, reaching in her bag to pull out a small tin of loose-leaf tea. Fancy, probably from that Pike Place shop she loved. She handed it to the woman, who giggled like they shared a secret. It was a small gesture, but it gutted me. That was our thing, picking out teas together, brewing them on rainy Sundays while we planned our week. Now it was theirs. I wanted to believe it was innocent. Just coworkers bonding, maybe a team-building breakfast. But the way her body angled toward him, the way her smile lingered, it wasn't professional. It was personal. I stood there, maybe 10 feet away, hidden by a potted fern and the cafe's morning bustle, watching my wife exist in a world I wasn't part of. The barista called, "Next in line," and I blinked, snapped out of my trance. I mumbled, "Forgot my wallet," and backed toward the door, my boots scuffing the hardwood. Outside, the fog swallowed me, the city's hum, buses, street vendors, a distant ferry horn, fading to a dull roar. I didn't go home. I couldn't. The thought of our apartment, with its shared couch and her post-it on the fridge, felt like a trap. Instead, I walked, aimless, past Pike Place's flower stalls and fishmongers, down to the waterfront. The air was sharp with salt and diesel. The Puget sounded a gray expanse under the mist. My phone buzzed, my boss, asking for a project update. I ignored it. All I could see was Emily's smile, her laugh, the text. "Don't tell, E." My mind spun, piecing together fragments I'd ignored. Her late nights, always client dinners. Her phone, once left carelessly on the counter, now glued to her hand, screen locked with a new passcode. The way she'd stopped asking about my day, her answers clipped. Just a crazy week. I sat on a bench by the Ferris wheel, the cold metal biting through my jeans. Was I paranoid? Maybe she was just happy, caught up in a moment. But that smile, it wasn't the polite one she gave me lately, the one that felt like a reflex. This was real, raw, the Emily I'd fallen for. And it wasn't mine anymore. I pulled out my phone, opened our shared Google Calendar. Her morning was blocked off. Team breakfast, Belltown, 7 a.m. Belltown, not Pike Place. A lie, small but deliberate. My thumb hovered over her contact, but I didn't call. Not yet. I needed to know more, to see how deep this crack ran. As I stood, a new weight settled in my chest, not just hurt but suspicion. Back at the apartment, I checked her calendar again, maybe her texts if I could. I wasn't proud of it, but the truth was slipping away, and I needed to grab hold before it was gone. The fog was lifting, sunlight cutting through in sharp slants. I headed for the light rail, my steps heavier than when I'd arrived. Whatever I'd walked into at that cafe, it wasn't the end. It was the beginning of something I wasn't ready for. The fog had lifted by the time I got back to our Capitol Hill apartment, but a heavier weight settled in my chest. Emily's laugh from Bean and fog looped in my mind, her smile for that stranger cutting deeper with every replay. The text, "Meet me at 8, don't tell E," and her fake calendar entry for a team breakfast weren't just oversights. They were lies, deliberate and sharp. I dropped my keys on the counter, the clink echoing in the quiet. Our home, once a sanctuary of shared hikes and late-night talks, felt like a stage set, familiar but hollow. Emily wouldn't be back for hours, her pitch meeting likely a cover for whatever she was doing with him. I paced the living room, past the framed photo of us at Snoqualmie Falls, her arms around me, both of us grinning through the mist. That version of us felt like a ghost. I opened my laptop, driven by a mix of dread and need. Our shared Google Calendar was still synced, a relic from when we'd coordinate grocery runs and date nights. I scrolled through her entries: client dinner, 6 p.m., downtown. Strategy session, Belltown. Then one caught my eye: team retreat, Bainbridge Island, 8 p.m. sunset deck. No mention of work, just drinks at a luxury spa. My pulse quickened. Bainbridge was a ferry ride away, not a quick stop for a meeting. This was something else. I didn't want to snoop, but the cracks in our life were spreading. Emily's phone, once left on the coffee table, was now always with her, passcode locked. Her wardrobe had shifted: silky blouses, floral perfumes, heels instead of sneakers. None of it for me. Even her routines had changed. No more asking me to grab groceries. No more shared tea on Sundays. I checked our joint bank account, telling myself it was just curiosity. A $199 charge stared back. Consulting software, Carter Designs. My freelance business. Except I hadn't taken a side gig in a year. My stomach dropped. I dug deeper, pulling up 3 months of transactions. The pattern was clear: $2,500 for design services, $1,200 for project management, $750 recurring for retainer fees. All under my name, my engineering license, funneled to a PayPal account tied to Emily's email. She was running a business, a fake one, using my credentials. If a project failed, if a client sued, I'd be liable. My career, my reputation, everything I'd built could collapse. I sat back. The screen's glow harsh against the darkening room. This wasn't just a fling. It was calculated, a betrayal woven into our shared life. Then, an email pinged in my inbox, forwarded from my old freelance account. A client, furious about a botched structural plan I'd supposedly delivered. "Fix this, or we're reporting you to the licensing board," it read. My hand shook. I hadn't touched that account in months. Emily had. The spa event loomed. I had to know. That night, I grabbed my keys and drove to the Bainbridge ferry, the Seattle skyline fading into the mist. The crossing was quiet, just the hum of the engine and the slap of waves against the hull. Oceanwell Spa sat tucked along the island's coast, its bamboo fences and dim lanterns glowing like a secret. I parked across the street in a public lot behind a cluster of pines, the spa's ocean-facing terrace in clear view. The air smelled of eucalyptus and salt, the sunset bleeding orange into the Puget Sound. I waited, my breath fogging the car window, camera app open on my phone. The terrace was empty at first, then a shadow moved behind the glass doors. Emily stepped out, barefoot, a wine glass in hand, her hair loose in a way she never wore it at home. She looked free, unburdened, a soft wrap I didn't recognize clinging to her frame. She laughed, that laugh from the cafe, and the same man appeared, the one from Bean and Fog. Tall, athletic, his hand grazed her waist as he joined her. My throat tightened. They stood close, too close, his voice low as she leaned in, her smile intimate. Then it happened, a kiss slow and deliberate, not stolen, but practiced, like it wasn't there first. My finger tapped the shutter, the timestamp glowing, 8:17 p.m. Her eyes flicked toward the lot, and I ducked, heart pounding, the pines shielding me. Had she seen me? I held my breath, but she turned back to him, still smiling. They lingered a moment longer, his arm around her, then slipped inside, the terrace lights dimming. I sat frozen, the photo burning into my screen. This wasn't a fling. It was a life she was building, one I didn't belong in. The drive back was a blur, the ferry's drone matching the static in my head. Back home, I checked her laptop while she was still out, finding a synced calendar invite. Wellness evening, Ocean Well, 7 p.m. No team, no retreat, just her and him. But the real blow came as I scrolled her emails. One, buried in a folder labeled work, was from a San Francisco PR firm. A job offer, starting in 2 months, with a relocation package. She was planning to leave, to take this secret life, and vanish, leaving me to face the fallout of her fake business. The client's email echoed in my mind. My license, my name, my future, all at risk. I closed the laptop, the room spinning. Emily wasn't just betraying me. She was dismantling me, piece by piece, and I'd almost let her. The Seattle rain started as I sat at our dining table, the laptop screen casting a cold glow on my hands. Emily's emails, her fake business under my name, the San Francisco job offer, they spun in my mind like a storm. The photo from Bainbridge, her kiss with that man, burned behind my eyes. My engineering license, my career, my life, she'd gambled it all. And for what? A new start without me? The client's email, threatening to report me to the licensing board, pulsed like a countdown. I could have confronted her, let the hurt pour out in shouts, but rage wouldn't fix this. I needed control, a plan, a way to reclaim what was mine. Emily was still out, probably laughing with him at some waterfront bar, oblivious to the unraveling I'd uncovered. Our Capitol Hill apartment, once alive with our Snoqualmie hike plans and shared teas, felt like a museum of a life I didn't recognize. I closed the laptop and called Rachel Nguyen, a college friend turned corporate lawyer. We hadn't spoken in years, but her voice was sharp when I explained. Ethan, this isn't just infidelity, she said, her tone clipped. She's committing professional fraud. Your license, your name. If a client sues, you're on the hook, not her. I swallowed hard, the weight of it sinking in. What do? I asked. Document everything, she said. Bank records, emails, invoices. Don't confront her yet. We build a case, and we hit hard. I spent the next hours in a haze, gathering evidence. I screenshot her PayPal transactions. $2, $500, $1,200, $750, all funneled from Carter Designs to her account. I pulled bank statements, highlighting charges I hadn't authorized. Her laptop, left charging while she slept, was a goldmine. I hesitated, my hands trembling over the keyboard. Was this who I'd become, sneaking through her files? But her lies, her use of my identity, pushed me forward. I found emails to clients, signed Ethan Carter via assistant, with Emily's number attached. She'd posed as my proxy, pitching projects I'd never seen. One client had paid $5,000 for a bridge consultation that didn't exist. My throat tightened. If that work was shoddy, my license was done. Then, a new email in her inbox stopped me cold. It was from the man at the spa, Mark Reynolds, her business partner. A forwarded contract showed he'd taken 30% of the profits from her fake gigs, funneling them to his own account. He wasn't just her lover. He was her accomplice, profiting off my name while they planned their San Francisco escape. The betrayal wasn't just personal anymore. It was a conspiracy. My hands shook as I backed up the files to an external drive, every click a step toward reclaiming my life. By morning, Emily was back, humming as she made coffee, her smile as easy as ever. "Good night," she asked, stirring honey into her mug. "Fine," I said, my voice flat, eyes on my phone. She didn't notice, didn't suspect. That was her mistake. I met Rachel at her downtown office, a sleek space overlooking Elliott Bay. Rain streaked the windows as she spread my evidence across her desk. Screenshots, statements, the Bainbridge photo. "This is airtight," she said, her pen tapping a contract Emily had forged. "Divorce papers, a financial injunction to freeze your joint accounts, and a fraud complaint ready to file if she fights back. You need to stay calm, Ethan. Let the documents speak." I nodded, but doubt gnawed at me. Could I dismantle our life like this? 8 years, taco truck dates, snow-qualmy mist, her laugh in our kitchen flashed through my mind. What if I was wrong? But the evidence was undeniable. Her emails, her lover's cut, the client's threat. I couldn't wait for her to leave me holding the wreckage. Rachel drafted the papers, her fingers flying over her keyboard. "We'll serve her quietly," she said. "No drama, just facts." I transferred utilities to my name, froze her credit cards, and opened a new bank account. Each step felt like shedding a skin I'd outgrown. That night, I found another email in Emily's synced account. A confirmation for a San Francisco apartment lease, signed by her and Mark. They were moving in together, her fraud money likely funding it. The realization hit like a wave. She'd planned to vanish, leaving me to face lawsuits and a ruined career. I stood in our living room, the rain drumming outside, and something shifted. This wasn't just about saving myself anymore. It was about justice, about holding her accountable for the life she'd tried to steal. I didn't sleep. I sat by the window, watching the city blur through the storm, my resolve hardening. Emily came home late, her hair damp, her smile tired but practiced. "Long day," she said, kicking off her heels. I nodded, saying nothing, my evidence hidden in a locked folder. Tomorrow, the papers would be ready. Tomorrow, she'd face the truth. But as I watched her move through our apartment, oblivious, a new question burned. How far would she go to keep her secrets? I wasn't sure, but I was ready to find out. The Seattle rain hadn't stopped, a steady drum against our Capitol Hill apartment as I sat upstairs, the divorce papers ready, my evidence locked in a digital vault. Emily's betrayal, her kiss at the Bainbridge Spa, her fake business using my engineering license, her San Francisco escape plan with Mark Reynolds, had carved a hollow in me. But last night, as I watched the city blur through the storm, something hardened. I wasn't just fighting to save my career. I was fighting for myself, for the truth she'd tried to bury. The courier was due any minute, and Emily, oblivious, was downstairs, her heels clicking as she moved through our shared life like nothing had changed. Rachel, my lawyer, had been clear. No outbursts, Ethan. Serve the papers, say little, let the evidence speak. The folder on my desk held everything. Screenshots of her PayPal transfers, forged contracts, emails with Mark splitting the profits, the time-stamped photo of their kiss. The client's threat to report me to the licensing board still loomed, but Rachel's plan was airtight. Divorce petition, financial injunction, and a fraud complaint ready if Emily pushed back. I'd frozen our accounts, transferred utilities, and braced for the fallout. This wasn't revenge. It was justice, clean and lawful. The doorbell buzzed, and my heart kicked. From the stairwell, I heard Emily open the door, her voice light as she thanked the courier. The envelope hit the kitchen table with a soft thud. Silence followed, thick and heavy, then the rustle of paper. I stayed put, gripping my phone, Rachel's number on speed dial. "Ethan." Her voice trembled, not angry, but unsteady, like she'd tripped into a reality she hadn't expected. I didn't answer. She called again, louder, her steps climbing the stairs. She appeared in the bedroom doorway, the papers shaking in her hands, her face pale. "What is this?" "You know," I said, my voice steady, eyes meeting hers. "Divorce. Fraud. Bainbridge. I saw you with Mark." Her breath caught, eyes widening. "Ethan, you followed me?" Don't." I cut in. "You used my license, my name, to run your scam. You and Mark stole thousands, risked my career. I have the emails, the transfers, everything." She sank onto the bed, the papers crumpling. "I didn't mean to hurt you," she whispered, tears welling. "It started small, a side gig. I felt trapped, Ethan. I needed something for me. Trapped." My laugh was hollow. "You planned to leave with him, to San Francisco, with my money. You almost destroyed me." "I can fix this," she said, her voice desperate, reaching for my arm. "We can start over, Ethan. Please." I stepped back. "You built a lie. We're done." She sobbed, head in her hands, but her tears didn't move me. Not anymore. The documents, divorce, injunction, fraud evidence, spoke louder than her apologies. I walked downstairs, leaving her to the wreckage of her choices. That night, she packed a bag and left for friends, her key on the counter, no note this time. The apartment felt empty, but for the first time in weeks, I breathed easier. Rachel filed the fraud complaint the next day. Emily's firm launched an investigation, and within a week, she was fired for ethics violations. The clients she'd misled, thinking they'd hired me, filed civil suits against her. Mark, her partner in the scam, faced criminal charges for wire fraud after Rachel tipped off the authorities with our evidence. The licensing board cleared my name. The client's complaint redirected to Emily's forged contracts. Justice wasn't loud or dramatic. It was quiet, precise, like a bridge built to last. I kept the apartment, repainting the walls a deep blue, erasing the traces of us. My bridge retrofit project won a regional award, a reminder I was still standing. I hiked Snoqualmie Falls alone one Sunday, the mist cool against my face, the roar of the water drowning out the past. Our old rituals, tea, taco trucks, her laugh, faded, replaced by a new rhythm, mine. I wasn't healed, not fully, but I was learning to trust myself again, to build a life that didn't lean on her. A final twist came a month later. An email from Rachel. Emily had tried to countersue, claiming I'd authorized her consulting work. But her story unraveled. Her own emails, bragging to Mark about fooling everyone, sank her. The judge dismissed her claim, and she was ordered to pay restitution for the fraudulent profits. I didn't gloat. I didn't need to. The truth had done its work. Standing on my balcony, the Seattle skyline sharp against a rare clear sky, I felt the weight lift. Emily's betrayal had broken me, but it also rebuilt me, stronger, clearer, anchored in myself. The city hummed below, alive with possibility, and for the first time in months, I was ready to cross that bridge.